Number 1 on this list, moving out. Don't do it. Make sure you stay put. Number 2, not filing first. You got to avoid this too if you're looking to get divorced. You always want to be the first one to file. Number 3, choosing the wrong attorney. Common mistake we see, choosing someone that's not a divorce lawyer or doing it yourself. Same problem. Number 4, hiding money. Number 5, avoid revenge behavior. Avoid this kind of stuff, retaliation and all that sort of thing. Number 6, avoid anger about Michigan law, what the laws are, what the court rules are, how things are going to go in your divorce case. You'll want to avoid being angry about that. Number 7, avoid social media. Avoid posting on social media. Avoid being on social media when a divorce is happening. Number 8, not following court orders. You want to avoid this. Don't get into being the one who won't follow the court orders and isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Number 9, removing your wife as a beneficiary on whatever it is, life insurance, removing her health insurance, canceling her name from this or that before it's time. You want to avoid doing that. And number 10, not knowing your children, not knowing their schedule, their teachers, whatever it might be. So let's go through these in a little more detail, but that's a quick version of the top 10, but some of these certainly need some explanation and you need a sense of what we're talking about here as divorce, family law attorneys, our perspective on this. So number 1 is moving out, something you want to avoid in your divorce case. Don't move out, don't get talked into moving out. There's no reason to be doing that. I know things can be a little tense or maybe there's disagreements, but unless there's domestic violence going on, you want to stay put. Now that advice is driven from if you have kids. If you have minor children, you want to stay living together. If there are no minor children, it could be less of an issue. You still want to know before you move out what's going on with who's paying the bills, what's going on with, I don't want my wife, or if it's, whatever it is, whoever you are in the situation, I don't want my spouse destroying things after I've left. I want to know where I stand. Am I allowed to come back to the house now that I've moved out? These are all things you want to consider. And if there's kids, you need a sense of what's going on with custody, parenting time, child support, paying the bills, who's coming and going at the house, when am I going to see my kids? There's a whole world of nonsense that can mushroom out of this idea that I decided I was going to move out, or my wife told me to get out for no legal reason. She just told me I had to leave. So you need to know your rights. First of all, do I have the right to stay at the house? So if you're on the title to the house, or your wife's on the title, or both, or if you're renting, same thing. You're on the lease, your wife's on the lease, whatever it is, then you have the same rights they do. You're married. So if your wife has a right to be at this place, house that you're buying or renting, apartment, whatever it is, or you have a right to be there, so does your spouse. Those rules, that thing goes hand in hand the way our laws are, the way Michigan law is on this. So you want to keep that in mind. Not filing first is number 2, filing first. There's this whole concept of ex parte orders. So with ex parte orders, MCR rule 3.207 tells you that you can get a court order signed without a hearing. So this idea of when we say we want you filing first, we want you to avoid letting your spouse file first in a divorce. Part of what I can do when I file first is I can get a court order signed according to this court rule, MCR 3.207. Every county in the state of Michigan, it's not just local to whatever it is. We practice here in Metro Detroit, but it's everywhere in Michigan. This court rule says you can get a court order signed without a hearing if there's a basis for doing so. So what people will do is they'll file a divorce complaint, and then they'll also get a court order signed without a hearing, so right away, that might freeze your bank account, or a court order that talks about what's going on with custody and parenting time, or even child support. So you don't want all that going on at the beginning. Avoiding these things can be done by filing first. If you're the first to file, you don't have to get a court order signed without a hearing, but you're allowed to. But you can avoid all that stuff going on. Also, first to file allows you to control the narrative, control what words are going to be in this divorce complaint when it's drafted. You're the one writing the complaint as opposed to your wife or whoever you are. Your spouse is your spouse is the one writing the complaint. They're the ones putting all the words in there. They're saying whatever they want to say about you. You don't want all that stuff. You want to avoid it. So filing first, possible court orders can get signed, controlling what words are in the document. You control the timing too. If you're the one filing first, you're going to control the timing. It's a lawsuit. You'll decide when it's filed. You'll decide when your spouse knows about it. You'll decide when they're served with it. So you want to keep all those things in mind as you're making choices. And then number 3 in this list of top 10 things to avoid with your divorce case, choosing the wrong attorney. Don't get sucked into this trap. Don't hire some jack of all trades lawyer. It's no good. I don't care that they know how to do personal injury or bankruptcy or criminal defense, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. I need somebody that knows divorce and family law. I might need them to know a little bit about criminal defense as it relates to a divorce case, like domestic violence charges or those kind of things, CPS investigations. But I don't want somebody that really doesn't do a lot of this divorce work and they're going to help me out. Well, that's not helping you out. That's called totally screwing it up because they don't know what they're doing and can't give you proper advice. So you need to look out. You want to hire someone that does a lot of divorce work. They know all this. They don't have to be licensed to do divorce work, right? Once you get admitted to the State Bar of Michigan and you're a licensed attorney, that's it. The laws say you can do any type of legal case that you want, but that doesn't mean that that person's going to know how to do the divorce case and understand the beginning, the middle, the end, and how to get you a good how to create a good strategy and how to get you a good result. So you want to avoid that. And then the do-it-yourself stuff, trying to do this on your own, that's the same thing as hiring the wrong lawyer. Now you're acting as your own lawyer and you don't know anything about any of this. It's not going to work. The other attorney's just going to do whatever they want and probably file a default and proceed without you, and you'll be wondering whatever happened and nobody can fix it later. So you want to avoid that kind of stuff. Don't choose the wrong attorney. Number 4 in this top 10 of things to avoid in a divorce case, don't get into this trap of trying to hide money, or how do I conceal things, or how do I really screw the other person over, I think is sort of the underlying thought some people might have because they're angry, they're hurt, they're emotional, whatever. Don't get into it. There's a court case in Michigan, Sands versus Sands, S-A-N-D-S, that says if you're caught hiding, concealing assets in a divorce and you're found out, now your spouse can get 100% of that asset, not just half. You don't want that. If there's some bank account that you've been working on here for a while because you know a divorce is coming, you got the bank account set up in your own separate name, you have to disclose it. Failure to do so can mean losing the entire account, not just half of it, or whatever it might be that you're trying to hide, trying to conceal. It's in your brother's name. It's just, you got to avoid all that nonsense. You don't want to look like the wrongdoer when you're just the one dealing with a divorce case. Avoid that kind of stuff when you can. Number 5 in the list of top 10 things to avoid in your divorce, avoid revenge behavior. Avoid this idea of retaliating, or you're going to avoid this idea of retaliating. You're going to somehow respond. You want your attorney to go do whatever her attorney's doing. You don't want that. That never works. It never makes sense. You don't want to be the one doing that. Be above it. Don't get down in it with them. If your wife's fighting dirty, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a good attorney, your divorce lawyer's an expert, they know what they're doing, they're not going to get away with it. You don't want to fall down to their level and get sucked into that. The courts are going to find out if your wife or your spouse is the wrongdoer. They'll pick up on it. So avoid revenge behavior. It just prevents progress. It makes it harder for your divorce case to be completed. It's harder to get things done. I mean, look, the way this goes, you're going to have to work things out. That's basically how it's going to go. 90+% of the time, your divorce case is going to settle out of court. It might not feel like that today. Maybe there's a lot of fighting going on. There's a lot of problems. But 90+% of the time, divorce cases settle out of court in every county, especially in Metro Detroit where we practice law. That's how it goes. There's a waiting period. If you have minor children, there's a 6-month waiting period. So these cases could take 5 to 10 months to complete, whether there's children or not. That gives time for things to cool down. That gives time for emotions to go away, for the anger to become less. And then you work things out. But you don't want to be doing revenge behavior and intentionally irritating your spouse. And then that's the person you're going to have to sit across from at a table and resolve it and work things out. You really want to avoid that. And number 6 in this top 10 things to avoid in a divorce case for men, number 6, avoid anger about our laws. Avoid the anger about this. I can't tell you how many meetings I do with potential clients where they're just ranting and raving. And we get that you're upset, and you have every right to be upset. But yelling at the attorney who's giving you the advice, telling you how this works, does you no good. If somebody's telling you that the average child support amount per month is $500, that's the way it is. That's the deal. They're not doing it to aggravate you. If they're telling you that you've been married a long time, you've been married 25+ years, and you're going to get, you'll end up with half the assets. Your wife's going to get half the retirement account. That's just the way it is. They're not telling you to irritate you. They're telling you that to prepare you for it. You want to know what to expect. You want reality. You don't want somebody who has no idea what they're doing giving you bad advice and saying, yeah, you're right, we'll just make sure you keep your entire pension, you're going to keep the house, that's not going to happen. Not if you've been married a long time. Not if your wife is involved with this thing the way Michigan law is. You can't expect it. It just isn't going to happen. So you want to avoid that. And then number 7 in this list of top 10 things to avoid social media. Don't post on social media. Don't post on Facebook. You've probably heard the stories. We've seen it too many times. We had a client one time, their wife was posting things on Facebook, posting drinks out with her friends and posting this and posting that. And the reality is she was a total alcoholic, and it was her undoing. We were able to use that as part of the evidence as to why she lost custody of her kids. Don't be that person. Don't be posting on there. Don't give them things to use against you. You're posting pictures of you with your kids, and then the other person takes it as you're exploiting them, or you're putting their identity out in the public, and that's creating a problem. They're going to get targeted. Just stay off. There's no good social media post when you're going through a divorce. The good post is no post. Just go dark. You don't have to close the account, or you don't have to put some long rant about why you're not going to post anymore. That's all. That's silly. Just stop. Just leave the accounts going. Don't post anything. You'll feel better about it anyways. You don't need to spend all your time on that stuff. Number 8 on this list of top 10 things to avoid in your divorce case. Avoid being the one who's not following court orders. You need to follow the court order, whether you like the court order, whether you agree with what it says. If you go to court, a judge makes a decision. If they decide how much parenting time you're going to have for the time being, how much child support you got to pay, what you're required to do, you need to make sure you're complying. You don't want to turn into the person that's not following the court orders. That's how people end up stuck paying attorney fees for the other party. You end up having to pay your wife's attorney fees because you're the wrongdoer. You want to avoid all that stuff. Don't do it. Don't get sucked into that. This idea of not following court orders, it's just bad business. It always backfires. It always ends up making you the wrongdoer. The courts, if the courts are going to make decisions, which they definitely make temporary decisions in divorce cases, we don't want them making big picture decisions. I don't want to be doing some trial and they're going to decide everything, because you're not going to like what they come up with. But it'll be fair. It'll be what the law says. But that doesn't mean that you'll like it. You're going to want some say in it. Whether it's a decision about custody or parenting time or child support or property division or alimony or whatever it might be, you'd want some say in it. So don't become the one that's not following the court orders. That leads to more disagreements, more problems, increases the likelihood that you're going to be stuck in court doing a trial, and now you've already lost before the trial's even started. A lot of reasons for that one. So you want to avoid all that stuff in the first place. Do your best to keep the peace. Try to be conciliatory. You don't have to do everything your spouse asks, of course, but if their requests are reasonable, you want to follow them. And if there's a court order in place, you gotta plan on following that. You gotta plan on being stuck with it. Number 9 in this list of things to avoid in your divorce case, you gotta avoid removing your wife as a beneficiary. Avoid canceling her health insurance. Avoid this sort of, it's really retaliatory behavior or unilateral decisions about things, single-minded kind of stuff. If there's a divorce case started, you gotta think, okay, now I need an agreement before I change anything. It's not up to you to just change things. You don't want to start canceling your wife as a beneficiary on life insurance. You don't want to cancel her health insurance. You cancel the health insurance, you could end up where you can't even reinstate it, and now a court is telling you have to put her back on the health insurance, and you can't, and now you're stuck paying all her medical bills until the divorce is over, and maybe even beyond. So it can really get you down a hole that's hard to fix. You want to avoid all that kind of behavior. Don't start canceling things, closing accounts, changing beneficiaries, closing bank accounts, doing whatever it is. You want to avoid all that stuff once a divorce has started. You're under the rules of a lawsuit now. You can't just do whatever you feel like all the time. And number 10 in this list of things to avoid here in your divorce case is, you need to avoid being ignorant, being left out, not knowing what's going on, especially when it comes to your kids. If you're looking at, you want to do shared custody, you want the kids half the time or a lot of the time, whatever it is that you're looking at, you need to know what's going on with your kids. Now's not the time to start being a father and start being involved. If that hasn't been the case, it really becomes too late once a divorce is started. So make sure you're active in their lives. Spend time with your kids. Make sure you know everything about the schooling, who their teachers are, what classes they're taking, what their schedule is, what the extracurriculars are, who the doctors are, when they go to the doctor, the dentist, whatever. You need to know all that information. You can't fake it. If you're looking at doing shared custody, you need to quickly educate yourself on all of that so that you're the real deal. and then be there. Be the one willing to spend the time. So hope that helps. That's a rough top 10 on things to avoid in a divorce.